The last thing that's on this table is this one. If you have a good memory, you'll think back to 24 hours ago. And this was where I finished the lesson, actually. Just look at the phrase. What does it mean? It means your repayment is exactly equal to the interest that you're being charged. So what's happening to your balance? The balance that is owing still. It just stays exactly the same as when you started. The interest gets charged, your repayment goes in. And it's just back and forth, and it's exactly equal. Okay? Can you remind me, why would someone in their right mind do that? Why? Not really. In 95% of cases, what you are doing is you are using this loan to either buy property or start a business venture that you hope will in the end be more valuable than when it started, so you can sell that off. It'll cover your original debt, and then you'll have a tidy sum on the side that you have earned. Does that make sense?
Wait,
so, yeah.
So, like, they charge you interest, but then you don't pay the interest if you take the interest-only payment. And then when you repay it, you only have a certain amount, so you know from the start how much you're going to pay for a while.
So here's exactly how it looks. Maybe you want to jot this down to help you remember, right? Under interest-only payment, the first thing you want to say is the most succinct way is just to say repayments equal interest. Usually your repayments have to be more than your interest, so you keep on making little dents in the balance that's owing, okay? But an interest-only payment means they're exactly the same. Now let's just do a quick example underneath, okay? As an example, let's suppose this year, 2016, okay? You buy a property, right? And it costs, let's say we don't buy in Sydney, so it's $250,000, okay? Or maybe you bought like a cardboard box in Sydney, right? You bought your cardboard box, you borrowed that amount, and then time passes, right? Your payments exactly balance out with the interest that's being charged, okay? So you now owe, let's put a year. Let's go 25 years in the future. What is that? 2041. Okay? In 2041, you still owe that same amount, right? You still owe that amount to the bank. But now, the value of your house maybe, the value of your cardboard box, the property that you've got, let's just say it triples. You know what? In 25 years, it will probably do more than that. Okay, yeah, that's right. It's like, guys, this is a luxury cardboard box, okay? It's right. Free air conditioning. Now, the value of the house has increased. So you repay the loan. The loan was $250,000, right? So the net gain, what you've gained is that $500,000 difference. Okay. Now we'll point out just as a practical thing, you can't just do this. The government will charge you something called stamp duty, which if you remember from buying cars, it's a significant proportion. So you're not going to get that exact amount in profit, but you will make a profit. Okay, just won't be that big.
So what benefit does this have towards the bank?
Well, the bank is happy because this whole time you are paying them like repayments, right? You're making repayments to them. Now, it's not as big as if you were actually paying off the loan, but you're giving them a steady stream of income, $1,888 every month for.
They don't make money.
Well, what they're doing is they're surrendering this big sum of money in return for you constantly sort of feeding them back over a long period of time. Well, they'll have this, and they'll have it along with other things. Like they basically want to keep your business, and if they are allowing you to do this, chances are you're going to bank with them for other stuff as well, which they will make more money off. Right? It's the whole principle of get your mobile phone and your internet and your landline and your cable TV all from me, because then I can make more money off you. Does that make sense? There's one more thing I want to put on here. You should add this down the bottom. It's a it might be the most important thing. Well, no, that's exaggerating, but it is very important. It's called an offset account.
Oh, yeah, I know this.
Okay? An offset account.
When you're like about to get sick.
That's not the way it works. Okay, here's the way it goes. Okay?
Offshore.
That's offshore account. That's very different. That's very different. Okay, here's the definition of an offset account. Okay, so I'll lay it out for you as simply as I can, and then you can tell me why it's useful. Okay. Shh. This is called a transaction account. That I'll give you the phrase and then I'll explain it. Okay, so let me explain this because this is super important. And if you get a mortgage, like an offset account is the most important thing you can look for, apart from obviously all the percentage rates and what have you. Okay. So let's picture this. Okay, you have bought a house and you're like, okay, I owe the bank all this money now. Okay, and your income is coming to you, to your bank account, and every month you're repaying off. Every month a sum of money goes into your mortgage. Okay. And then it disappears forever. It's gone. The bank has that now. It's their money after all. Okay, so that's what's happening in your mortgage, right? But then on the side, like your income, right, and your groceries and all that kind of thing, they come out of what's called your transaction account because it's the account which, surprise, surprise, has all the transaction on it. Money coming in, money going out. It's the one that's changing all the time, right? Day to day, as soon as you go and tap on like public transport, your Opal card says, oh, you're out of credit, you need to put some more on. That transaction happens to think of it like basically like your wallet, right? The amount of money in here is changing constantly, okay? This is not your mortgage. You pay your mortgage out of this, but this is like the thing I can hold. This is the thing I can use, okay? Now, your transaction account, right? It's got all this money sitting in it that actually you could put into your mortgage, right? So what they do is they say, if you've got an offset account, we treat all of the money in your transaction account as if it had paid off your mortgage. Think about that for a second, okay? They suppose you've got in your transaction account, maybe you've got like $10,000. That's not a huge amount of money. It's kind of like if I'm in a car crash or something like that, I need to make some emergency repairs, okay? But it's enough that it makes a difference the amount of interest that you're earning, okay? So in your transaction account, you've got this $10,000 sitting over here, okay? And you still owe the bank this amount, right? Suppose you haven't made any repayments yet. If you are able to, if your bank will let you treat this as an offset account, then they won't charge you interest as if they owe you $250,000. They'll charge you interest as if you owe $240,000. Okay? That means any money that's sitting in your wallet, in your transaction account, it's working for you. It's reducing this, which is really important, as we demonstrated. The smaller this is, the smaller the interest they actually get off you. Okay? Now, offset account, it dramatically reduces the amount of interest that you're paying off. Okay? So that's why it's such an important feature. It's often expensive. You have to pay a fee for it, but it's worth it because of the effect it has on this. Okay? For example, just like at the moment, I won't give you the exact numbers, but my offset account right now is about, I think it's about half the size. It's about, so in this scheme, if I owed $250,000, oh, thanks Gary. If I owed $250,000, it'd be as if, whoops.
Oh yeah.
Because he just, anyway. Sorry, you didn't see it. It came up on the screen. It's as if they're not going to charge me interest on $250,000. They're going to charge me interest on half of that. That's a really big deal, isn't it? Right? That's like thousands of dollars every month, tens of thousands every year. Okay? So it makes a big difference, which is why you need to get rid of it. Question?
Did you earn interest on the offset account?
No, but I'm not earning interest, but I'm reducing the interest that's getting charged to me. Okay? And that's actually better. That's actually better, right? Because you might think of it like this. Imagine this, okay? You might think, hey, I'll borrow money and then I'll just put it in a bank account and then it's earning interest. Why don't I just use that interest to pay off the interest that they're charging me? And the reason why is because the interest they charge you will always be more than the interest you get back. The banks are trying to make money out of you. This is the way they'll arrange it. Okay. So therefore, it's so much better for me to have my money sitting here, reduce the amount of interest that's getting charged to me, rather than having it sit in some savings account, getting me interest that's less than this anyway. It's the difference between what we call good debt and bad debt, right? Good debt, like it's okay to have debt so long as it's low interest in total, right? So your HEX, you remember I talked about HEX yesterday or the day before, right? HEX debt is really good debt. They're not really charging you interest on it, they're just charging you inflation, right? So you can actually leave your HEX debt there. Don't pay it, leave it as long as possible because your bank account is making more money than your HEX debt is taking away from you, okay? So that's why most people only pay off their HEX debt because it gets, like the government takes it out of you, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know how we've just been saying, right? Hey, this number's really important. I'll come to you in a second. This number's really important. This is the one you do all the calculations on, right? But then it's like, oh, hey, look at all this other stuff that matters. And this is complicated, isn't it, right? So the government has said, you know what, like has said to all the banks, you're trying to confuse people and people are getting ripped off because they are confused.
Whoa.
So by law, turn the page, come on. There is something called a comparison rate, okay? Now just read this with me, it's worth the 30 seconds it'll take. A comparison rate is basically that first percentage, and then they add on as a percentage all the other stuff that's in the fine print to give you an estimate. It's not a replacement for actually getting into the nuts and bolts and looking at all the numbers in fine detail. But when you come and have a look down here, right? It's like, yeah, you want to borrow this amount, this is the interest rate we'll charge you. Oh, by the way, tiny fine print, there's fees, you'll have to do this, there's conditions, etc. So there are actually additional things you're going to have to pay in addition to this basic number. So the number you get to compare between loans, because that's what these are about, is called the comparison rate. You see how it's higher? See how it's higher? So it's like this one, plus all of these additional fees and charges that come into it, and you really need to worry about those as well, because obviously they make a difference.